These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
It's a scoop session on Minnesota sports with Mackie and Judd with our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. Plenty to get to here today. Let's start with Vikings here. Vikings get a week to self-reflect, self-scout, and now we head into one of the biggest games of the year on the NFL calendar. Lions and Vikings, probably the two best teams in the NFC, maybe two of the 3 or 4 best teams in the entire league. So, Dukes, how are you surveying the landscape here? We've got TJ Hockenson is getting close. Dalton Reisner was just activated, at least to practice, coming off IR. So what are you looking at here for Lions week?
Also a chance for these guys to work on their tans. Cam Bynum told me in the locker room on Monday, spent some time in Hawaii. Kevin O'Connell was in San Diego. Guys were spread out across the globe. So certainly a time to rest, relax, and enjoy the bye week. Yes, I do wonder if TJ Hockenson plays on Sunday, but Phil, I'm thinking it's more like October 24th, that you're not going to have him play 2 games in the course of 5 days. So make that move ahead of the Rams game, not the Lions game. Watching practice on Monday for the 15 minutes we were allowed to, although they were only in the practice field for about 60 minutes or so on Monday. But Aaron Jones, I sent you guys a video clip. But even just watching him at one point, he went in to go to the bathroom. The way he ran out the door, grabbed his helmet, then ran to a group. He was moving pretty well. We'll get a better sense on Wednesday, but certainly encouraging with the hip issue, the way he was moving on Monday. To me, the biggest cause for concern isn't necessarily Jones. It's Blake Cashman. He was working off to the side, had a wrap on his lower, I believe it was his right leg, one of his lower legs. I believe it was his right leg. That's always been the concern with Blake. Excellent player. Can he get through 17 games? Harrison Phillips was inside. I wouldn't necessarily worry about him. Now, hey, when thinking about Sunday, that Lions rushing attack, Gibbs, Montgomery, how good that Detroit offensive line is. Like, you want Harrison Phillips on Sunday more than probably any other game on your schedule. If you want to debate San Francisco, fine. But to me, it's Detroit. But I have no reason to believe here on Tuesday that there's anything to worry about in terms of Harrison Phillips' availability come Sunday. It's also interesting to me, Phil, talking to multiple guys in the locker room after practice, how motivated they are, how well aware they are that the Lions now are the betting favorite to win the NFC North. The Niners also have better odds to win the NFC. So it's not the Vikings, even though they're the only undefeated team in the NFC. It's the Lions and it's the Niners, then the Vikings in terms of the betting lines when thinking about who will win the NFC.
Did you guys see the clip that the Vikings put out, though, of O'Connell addressing the team yesterday and talking about like what's in front of us, that we have the guys in the room to win here, and that they might not be talking about the guys in this room now, but they bleeping effing will. They effing will eventually. So I'm telling you guys, I think this plays, and I know it's cliched and I know it seems dumb, but they're playing a kid's game. I think this is playing right into his hands, the fact that the Vikings continue to have a pretty good national segment that completely doubts them. This is from day one when he stood up there and said, I think that we can be really good. And I'm sure alluded to, I think that a lot of people are saying that we can't be. This is perfect. This is the perfect us against that. This is what you want because a lot of times it feels like coaches have to make up the boogeyman, like it's the media doesn't believe, right? And it's like you're lying, like that's not true. Like we've seen coaches talk about no one believed. It's like you were the Patriots favorite, you idiots. But anyway, I think this works out. Like you couldn't script Kevin O'Connell's life better than this to continue.
Oh, I agree. I mean, the fact that they are underdogs on Sunday, the fact that KOC can use how dominant Detroit was in Dallas last week. Everybody is now talking about the Lions. Yeah, nobody is talking about you guys, which isn't true. There's enough national steam now on the Vikings, but KOC can create enough of a narrative. And yeah, he laid it out in the Monday team meeting. Then, hey, even, some chatter about, hey, how difficult this stretch is. 2 games in 5 days. How tough this is. You have to travel on Wednesday for a Thursday game. Yes, KOC is absolutely loving right now, and he feels confident about this team's chances come December into January.
How much stock do we put into this game? Because I have a feeling this. We'll talk this through Purple Daily throughout the week. We'll do all Purple picks on Saturday, but this Lions team is a freight train, and it's been a freight train for like 2.5 years. Offensively, creative, explosive, weapons all over the place. Now, Aiden Hutchinson being out is a huge problem for them going forward. But if the Vikings get beat, which, they're not going to go undefeated. So if they get beat, how much does that change the perception? I mean, I think fans are going to be a little bit shell-shocked, and I'm sure we'll have to talk people off the ledge. How much stock do you put into this game, Dukes?
Well, I mean, how do they lose? Is it Sam Darnold continuing to struggle? You could make a case his final 2 quarters at Lambeau, then a good chunk of the game in London, Sam was pretty pedestrian, pretty ordinary. So if it's 3 or 4 more quarters of just average Sam, okay. If it's a straight up game, maybe the Vikings lose the turnover battle, 1-0, something like that. I wonder, is it sustainable to be able to take the ball away at the clip the Vikings are? Now, hey, in speaking with Jonathan Grenard, Josh Metellus, Cam Bynum, some other defenders on Monday, yeah, maybe in the moment they're telling me to my face, yeah, we feel confident, right? There's enough opportunity to punch the ball out. We're ball hawks. We will catch the ball when it's thrown our way. There's a lot of, I can think of many instances the last handful of years, heck, probably even 1 or 2 this year, where a ball hits a defender and it hits the ground, right? The interception isn't completed, even though it should have been. That Bynum and Metellus in particular feel like, hey, we practice enough. We have good hands. We are going to catch those balls that are opportunities to create interceptions. But I wonder about that. But Phil, I need to know how the game unfolds. Do the Lions run for 190 yards?
Yeah, what if they
line manhandle the Vikings interior defensive line? I need to know exactly how it plays out.
Yeah, what if they're the first team that gets out in front? No one has really taken a lead on the Vikings. They run the ball well, and Sam Darnold is underwhelming again. Now on the other side, if the Vikings win this game and it looks really impressive, and Darnold bounces back after a bye week and throws for 275 and a couple of touchdowns, I think it's going to be hard to contain the best team in the NFL discussion and the maybe this is our year discussion. So it's just I feel like there's a really wide variance of how this will look and feel in a week from right now.
Agree, but it can shift so fast. You like their chances against the Rams. Now, Cooper Kupp, decent chance he's back, maybe even this week, but certainly on October 24th. But then you think about the Colts, the Jaguars, the Titans. The schedule eases up for a stretch there in November. So we can ride that roller coaster. Yeah, if they lose on Sunday, maybe it dips. Everybody, hey, if the Lions win on Sunday, I promise, everybody nationally is going to be talking about the Lions are going to the Super Bowl. The Lions are the overwhelming favorite to win the NFC. I won't necessarily go there. I'll let it play out more. And Phil, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we can do a little bit more on this. I spoke with Christian Darrisaw about this. He feels horrible for Aiden Hutchinson. That to me is as significant a loss as possible for a defensive player in this league. With all due respect to Watt in Pittsburgh, to Garrett in Cleveland, I just think Hutchinson is that good. The fact that we now know he is out for the year, even though Dan Campbell tried to open up the door just a little bit on the possibility of him coming back. You don't come back from that sort of injury in 2 to 3 months. He is out for the year. That is significant. Now, maybe Detroit is pretty darn active heading into the trade deadline on November 4th. But hey, Judd, I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings too are active heading into the trade deadline.
Absolutely not. There is an interesting thing, and it might mean something. It might mean nothing when you do the math on the current Vikings active roster, though. So very quietly last week, Jalen Redmond, I believe on Friday, was waived. Now he's been re-signed to the practice squad. If I'm not mistaken, the Vikings went into practice yesterday with a 52-man roster, which
Accurate.
means they're either planning on Hockenson being back or something else. And it might be nothing, like it might be a very small move, but like you don't ordinarily stay at 52 this long during the season. It's just an interesting little side note. My guess is it has to do with Hockenson, but just it leaves the door open for something to happen that could influence things at least a little bit on Sunday. Just don't know exactly what that's going to be yet.
Absolutely. I mean, I will tell you, watching Hockenson again on Monday, he looks phenomenal. I just don't know, is this the game you bring him back against the team? You know, the injury occurred against last December. And then do you plan on him playing then again 5 days later?
No, I agree with
I think
you.
That's a little aggressive.
Agreed.
So that's why I'm thinking more the 24th. But if you're asking me how Hockenson looks, to me, he looks ready to go. Watching him catch, cut, do all that stuff, to me, he looks ready to play this Sunday. I just don't know, though, if you're that aggressive, especially considering the record, if the Vikings push it on Sunday, just wait until the 24th. The other guy that's now back that told me in the locker room on Monday he feels fantastic is Dalton Risner. So do you make the move on Risner? How much practice does Risner need? He's not starting. Yeah, we can have the conversation about the interior of the offensive line, in particular the right guard spot. You know, Ed Ingram, how do you evaluate him? But Dalton Risner has never played right guard. You're not throwing Dalton Risner, to me at least, you're not throwing Dalton Risner in at right guard anytime real soon.
Yeah. Aaron Jones, let's talk more about, you sent us a video, I believe, yesterday
he looked
via
good.
text. So yeah, tell us about what you're seeing and hearing with Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I mean, moving, doing everything he needs to do. But like Cashman, that's always been the concern with Jones, that inevitably he's going to miss some time, that he's not a guy who plays 17 games. But just watching him move on Monday, clearly we'll get a better picture on Wednesday with the first official injury report for the week. Now, I wonder if he'll be, maybe more so limited, not a full participant. Now, if he's a full participant on Wednesday, that will point to, yes, he will play on Sunday. If he's limited, we'll have to see how it plays out on Thursday, a little bit into Friday. But just based on what I saw on Monday, he looked pretty darn good.
Hey, did you guys, real quick, not directly Vikings related, but about an hour before we hit record on this scoop session, the New York Jets continued their reliving of the 2010 Minnesota Vikings season, where you've got an over-the-hill 40-plus-year-old quarterback trying to relive the glory days, team desperate to try and make up for the disappointment of the previous season. In the Vikings case, it was getting to the doorstep of the Super Bowl. In the Jets case, it was blowing out your Achilles on the first snap, basically. Dissension in the locker room, the firing of a coach, and to complete all of these similarities, the desperate trade, third-round pick, by the way, going to another franchise for an over-the-hill star wide receiver, Randy Moss in 2010, and Devontae Adams to the Jets now. I think both teams also started 2-4. So record-wise, very similar, too.
I'll have to look that up. Phil, yeah, I hadn't thought of that until you just said it. So, those watching on YouTube can see the look on my face. It was like, oh, yeah, okay.
Quizzical.
I get it. Hadn't thought about it. But
2-4. Vikings were 2-4.
Is brilliant, yes.
They lost a primetime game at Green Bay against a divisional opponent. Yeah. That's amazing. October 24th is when that happened. But
when did the trade happen? Was the trade after the primetime loss?
Well, that was early October, right?
And then they made it after the Jets loss, but was it before the bye week against the Jets?
Okay, so not exactly mirroring this Devontae Adams trade the day after a primetime loss. Now, for the sake of our audience, because I've been asked, even though it seems very logical, the Vikings were never in on Devontae Adams. Let me just make that very clear.
Well, I hope not. And look,
well, yeah, but people ask the question, right? So I'll answer the question.
Well, I hope you told them, no, they're not. They're not going to be in on an aging bleeping guy who makes a ton of money. The interesting thing about this entire Jets thing as well, though, to Phil's point too, is, the Moss thing was partially driven as a problem, or partially became a problem because he got here and expected to be extended. And the Vikings were like, we're not going to extend you. And he's like, that's why I got out of with the Patriots. Devontae, I think contractually is fine. But that whole thing is such a mess now too. Like I watched it last night, 22 penalties. That game was unwatchably bad. And the Jets are just, Rodgers, the many faces of that guy, the hope that there might be a final tour where he comes back and hands it to the Packers as, in a Favre-esque Vikings way. I think he should just walk away after the season. It's over.
Well, the frustration, it has to be mounting, right? Mike Williams falls down, and the Bills safety comes over, gets the interception, or maybe it was a cornerback, doesn't matter. Bills defender, but Mike Williams falls down. How about Garrett Wilson? Perfect throw. And hey, he was being, Rapp was right there, right? Delivered the blow. Wilson drops the ball in the end zone, but you could not have made a better throw. So yeah, I get it. I feel bad. I feel good for my guy Todd Downing of Eden Prairie, who's now the Jets play caller, but I feel bad because is this thing just going to spiral now even more?
You really feel good for him? You really feel good for him? You really think that's a great, calling plays for that guy and that?
Well, considering what he's dealt with in his personal life that was, out there, right, getting in some trouble with the law, now rebounding. He's young enough where I'd like to think he can be a full-time play caller again. Then maybe in 3, 4, 5 years, be in a position to elevate, perhaps, to being a head coach. Maybe that's unrealistic, considering what took place off the field. But, hey, Todd's one of my guys. I like Todd. And, yeah, I get it, right? And, hey, Nathaniel Hackett, who he has a good relationship with, he's still in the building. So how weird is that dynamic with Hackett still there?
Love it.
Now, hey, does Hackett now with Devontae Adams coming in, what exactly does Hackett's role turn into? I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff there, but still, nonetheless, yes, happy for my guy Todd elevating once again to being a play caller.
Yeah. Okay, before we go through the rest of Doogie's scoop bag here, Nicol Law is the exclusive personal injury law firm of SKOR North podcast, and they know that when you or a loved one gets injured, ordinary life can come to a stop. Things can get complicated, and that's where Nicol Law comes in with a guiding hand to help you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. We appreciate Nicol Law helping to keep these podcasts running on the daily here at SKOR North, and we appreciate them helping you get the compensation you deserve too. If you've been injured, get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicol. You can start your path to winning at NicolAlaw.com or give them a call at 1-855-NICOL. So, Dukes, any other Vikings things, or can we move into the exciting land of Timberwolvesville?
Let's talk Wolves. Yeah, nothing else.
Donte DiVincenzo, dude. Donte DiVincenzo. He's chirping Tibbs. He's chirping Rick Brunson. He's being held back by Jalen Brunson, one of his best friends. I don't know, man. I know that people are still getting over their emotions with the Carl trade, but inject Donte DiVincenzo into my veins as an addition to this team. We haven't even seen Julius Randle yet, but to me, it's worth it just for Donte DiVincenzo.
And we will. Julius will play in one of these two games. They play Wednesday, Thursday. The game on Thursday now because of the Lynx game on Friday. So with the back-to-back, Randle isn't going to play both games, but he will play one game, then be good to go. Next Tuesday, 1 week from today, the Wolves open their season at the LA Lakers. Phil, remember, DiVincenzo has championship cred.
High
the
school.
Wolves
college.
Freaking love him. That toughness, that bravado, that attitude, the swagger he plays with, I'm telling you, the Wolves loved it before Sunday, but then after seeing how Sunday played out privately, I'm just telling you, Wolves people are ecstatic. They are so thrilled to have Donte DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
Is that not one of the most extraordinary, and I talked about this with Patrick as well, extraordinary preseason games you've ever seen? I have seen countless NBA regular season games that don't even come a fraction of the intensity. Like, I was shocked. And then check out the box score. Look at how much the Stars played. I mean, I don't think I will see this again in my lifetime. A preseason game that actually is more intense than a game in, I would argue, November or December. It was great.
Yeah, maybe more so the dog days of the season, like January or February.
Sure.
Yeah, with you. But yeah, certainly even, maybe some December games, right? Charlotte against Washington in December doesn't have that sort of intensity that we saw on Sunday. How about Cat? 16 rebounds in 20-something minutes? But yeah, I mean, the Cat angle, Divin Chinzo, even though Julius didn't play, yes. And you think about, the history there with Tibbs, heck, Rick Brunson, his time here, all the behind the scenes negative stories that you heard about Rick, but still remaining one of Tibbs's guys. There's some other people way behind the scenes, way deeper behind the scenes that have Minnesota connections. So yeah, anytime the Knicks and Wolves meet, hopefully they meet in June for the championship. That would be as much fun as it gets. I don't know if I would necessarily bet on that, but yes, that was loads of fun on Sunday.
Also, Anthony Edwards was asked about what's it like playing with Donte DiVincenzo, and he beamed. I mean, he with a couple expletives. It's effing incredible. I love it. I don't even need the ball. Just I can run around just like I learned during the Olympics. The fact that those guys have built an instant chemistry too. Also, Anthony Edwards, Dukes, is just the type of guy that seems like he can build instant chemistry with almost any type of player or personality. He's that type of a leader of a franchise.
Yeah, he is. I mean, just turned 23 in August. But yeah, a lot of guys, just snap of the fingers, gravitate toward him. That's the sort of personality that he has. You know who else is gushing about DiVincenzo? Chris Finch. We've heard for so long that Chris is an offensive savant. Yet where were they last year in offense?
17th.
17th.
Yeah.
All right. Like, it's time for them to become a top 10 offense. Maybe they're not the number 1 or number 2 defense, but the idea is you have a top 10 offense along with a top 10 defense. So maybe you take a little bit of a step backwards defensively to be able to jump up offensively. That what DiVincenzo can do with his cutting, with his catch and shoot ability. I'm telling you. Yes, Chris Finch.
Dude.
We knew that he loved Julius Randle, but the more I hear, the love for DiVincenzo is off the charts.
Are we sure they're going to take a step back defensively? I feel like Cat was not one of their 3 or 4 best defensive players. He brought size, obviously.
Well, I thought he had his best of his 9 years. I thought he had his best defensive year. But yeah, if you want to make a case that he wasn't one of their top 3 defenders last year,
I
can buy into that.
They're more switchy now, especially if Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to get some run. Josh Minott might sneak his way in. It just feels like they've got some interesting. They've got some interesting switchable wing players that might give them more defensive versatility than maybe people are giving credit for. Everyone's talking about the loss of size, but we're not talking about what they're gaining on the other side of it here too.
Well, I just think it was such a high bar they set last year.
Yeah, that's
fair.
Are you
meeting that bar again? I still think they're going to be, yes, a good defensive team. And Elston Turner, who I think is a marvelous coach, to me, somewhere along the way, should have been given an opportunity to be a head coach. The way he coordinates that defense, really, really solid. So, yeah, I think they're going to be a good defensive team. I just think they were so good last year, Phil. I don't know if they can quite meet that standard. But, yeah, I don't think they are going to take a significant step backwards.
The addition of Divin Chinzo to me as well, and this is going to come in especially handy in the playoffs, it adds an element of dog that this team didn't have. Like Ant does, but this is going to be, I think, far more roster wide now. And I think come playoff time, especially with the league going out of their way to saying that they are loosening up the rules a bit, so you shouldn't call all the ticky-tack stuff. I think this team has added an element of toughness that they probably lacked. They were tough, but I think Divin Chinzo gives them an edge that Ant has as well. That's going to be team-wide, roster-wide.
Oh, agree. I mean, go up and down the roster. Mike Conley Jr., almost too nice.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden McDaniels, not that dog. I do think Nas has enough dog to him.
Agreed.
Gobert, I think you can rattle him enough.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's ever going to curl up in the fetal position, But when thinking about, like that dog that you're describing, that's Divin Chinzo. That's Julius Randle, like undoubtedly. And Cat, maybe at times tried to play some bully ball, but then inevitably was whistled for an offensive foul. Right? So tried to have some of that, but I'm not sure it was always genuine, really, who he is as a player. But yeah, Julius and Donte, yes, they absolutely have it.
They traded a cat for 2 dogs, is what they did.
Wow.
He jumped for that one, Phil.
Wow.
Doogie, let's go through your scoop bag here. Rapid fire scoops in the last minute or two. What else you got in there?
Absolutely. So when thinking about who is that 15th guy for the Wolves, you talk to league people, they think that Keita Bates-Diop is going to get traded.
Okay.
Now, let's see how it plays out a little bit more this week. So I mentioned you have back-to-backs Wednesday and Thursday. So there will be an opportunity for PJ Dozier, for Keita Bates-Diop to play heavy minutes in one of those games. Probably more so Thursday, not Wednesday. So let's see it play out a little bit more. But league people think that Dozier is going to stick. I think in the moment, a lot of people just figured, hey, partial guarantee, PJ Dozier gone. I'm still not there. Maybe it does happen, but I'm still not there. I'm just telling you, some league people think that the end game here is Keita Bates-Diop gets moved. Mark Lowry will be in town on Friday for Game 4. Lynx against Liberty. I had a nice conversation with Cheryl Reeve on Monday. Shameless plug. That's on the KSTP.com sports page. I Zoomed with her for about 15 minutes, so we went back and forth on the first 2 games of the finals. She told me that as of Monday early morning, 14,000 tickets sold for Game 3 tomorrow night. So they have the upper deck open at Target Center. I think in the end, it'll be closer to 15 or 16 in the building. Yes, Sunday was disappointing for the Lynx. They get it down to 2, 68-66. Then New York finishes the game on a 12-0 run to win 80-66. But the Lynx now have home court advantage. Win Wednesday, win Friday, you win the championship. They are fully capable of doing that. So it should be a fun week. Yours truly will head to New York on Sunday if there's a Game 5. So very selfishly for TV duties, very, 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 very selfishly, I would rather be, with all due respect, I don't mind Brooklyn, but I just think if it gets to a Game 5, I like New York's chances on its home court. I want to be at US Bank Stadium on Sunday. Very selfishly.
Oh, I thought you wanted to go.
I thought you were going the other way.
No.
Oh, 5-star hotel room service.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I'd go for a nice slice of New York pizza. If I end up in New York on Sunday, I'm not going to complain. But I'm just saying, I really, really want to be at US Bank Stadium. So I'm hoping the Lynx can win tomorrow. Then win Friday. But hey, if New York wins on Wednesday, maybe New York wins on Friday, one way or another. I just hope I'm at US Bank Stadium.
I love these Minnesota sports champagne problems that we have now, right? Just the Lynx. And the Lynx close it out a little quicker, please. So that
if you do travel, make sure that you don't get a middle seat and coach, because I've heard that's hell. I've heard that's hell. I want to make sure that you're not uncomfortable.
No, don't worry about that. One other note. So I don't tweet as aggressively as I used to. So I'll, start with that. But like in the last 4, 5, 6 months, I'm not sure a tweet I've sent has been more popular than my Michael Grady note from Monday. Yeah. All the likes and retweets and replies. So Michael Grady, hired by ESPN. He will do 18 games for ESPN. Now, some of those 18 may end up being some of those Wolves games that will be on ESPN, but he is still doing Wolves games. Michael Grady is excellent. This makes all the sense in the world. He should be heard by a national audience. But keep in mind, outside of Kevin Harlan, unless I'm forgetting somebody, if you look at the roster of national TV play-by-play announcers, all of them do local teams. Like Mark Jones does the Sacramento Kings. Mike Breen does the New York Knicks. So, yeah, maybe Michael Grady gets way more than 18 games next year for ESPN. But right now, there's not a whole lot to worry about. If you're a Wolves fan, if you enjoy watching the Wolves telecasts, Michael Grady isn't going anywhere.
Love it, man. He's awesome at what he does, and hopefully he'll be here for at least a few more years. Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. Great stuff, Doogs.
All right, boys. Take it easy. We'll talk on Thursday.
We'll see you on Thursday. A little reckless speculation Thursday. Thanks for hanging out with us here. Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd and the SKOR North YouTube channel.